Let's look at a little example of why we might be interested in finding the vertex of a quadratic function. Here's an example where we have a formula for the profit in terms of the number of units sold. So in particular, if we sell x units, then this function, 160x minus 0.4x squared minus 100, tells us the daily profit from that sale of x units. And the question we might want to ask is, how many units should we plan on selling in order to maximize our profit? So it might not be the case that selling more units results in greater profit, because to sell more units you might have to lower the price. And so this kind of question shows up a lot in economics. What level of production should maximize the profit, and what will that profit be? So level of production, that's another way of saying how many units. And since the number of units is represented by x, we're really trying to find an appropriate value of x. And because this function is a quadratic, it's a parabola with a negative coefficient in front of x squared, a negative value of a, which means this parabola opens downward, and there's going to be a maximum value at the vertex. The largest possible profit you can get occurs at the top of that parabola, at the vertex. So in order to find the maximum profit, what we need to know is what is the x value for that vertex. So start by writing down the coefficients, just as we would if we were using this with like the quadratic equation. A is the coefficient of x squared. Now be careful, that's not the first coefficient. It's the coefficient of the highest degree of x. So it's negative 0.4. B is the coefficient of x. So that's 160. And C is the constant term, the piece without an x, so that's minus 100. After you've figured out the coefficients a, b, and c, you can plug the ones you need into the formulas you need. In this case, the formula for the vertex is negative b over 2a. So we plug in 160 for b and negative 0.4 for a. And when you simplify that, you end up with 200. That's how many units you want to sell. And if you sell that many units, you plug the number 200 into this function. Actually, this should be a p for profit. Plug 200 into that formula everywhere you see an x, and so that gives you 160 times 200 minus 0.4 times 200 squared minus 100. And when you simplify that, you end up with the result 15,900. So combining all that, we can see that if x is 200, that means selling 200 units. And the output is 15,900, so that's your profit in dollars. If you sell 200 units per day, your daily profit will be 15,900, and that's the maximum you can get because it corresponds to the topmost point on the graph of this quadratic function.